evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is the day that the Lord has made. We rejoice and we're glad in it. We're grateful for it. I am Bishop J. Charles Carrington Jr. I am the senior pastor of Life Builders Church, and I am so thankful for all that have joined us this evening. What a treat we have for you. And this has been such an enlightening time together. And I've been getting so many compliments and calls about how excited everybody is about what they're receiving. They can't believe it's free, but you know, it's a blessing. Free should not make you disrespect the resource. And I think the only payment that I ask for is that you apply what you learn. So I am so thrilled tonight to be able to introduce Tiara Sidnor-Diggs, and she's going to take us the rest of the way. We all had a good Thanksgiving Day. Before I get off, am asking everybody, please wear your mask. Everybody, please socially distance like you're supposed to. I've had the horrible distinction of seeing too many of my friends get buried, either me doing it myself or being in the on the program, because people were not taking this virus seriously. Again, you can have your thoughts about whether it's bad or not, and I'm not on here to chastise anybody. But you know, if wearing a mask is going to help us to live, to apply these things and get through this time, let us do what we need to do. All right? We want everybody to live. I want to live. I want to see the spring flowers. I want to see the snow if it falls. I want to do all I can, and I pray that you want to do all you can as well. So please be safe. Encourage your family members to do what's possible. We trust God with the impossible. But right now, Tiara, are you ready? I'm finished my soapbox, but I just wanted to let everybody know we care enough to say, do the possible and apply what you hear tonight.
Thank you, Bishop Carrington. Hi, everyone. Greetings. I'm Tiara Sidnor-Diggs, and I am one of the co-founders of Keys of Hope Consultants, LLC. We are, again, happy and honored and excited about our partnership with the Life Builders Church with Bishop Carrington. If this is your first time joining us, we want to welcome you. If you are returning from the past 2 sessions that we had, we are glad to see you and welcome back. This evening, you are going to be in for a great presentation. Effective leadership is crucial and necessary during this time. Oftentimes, leaders are expected to have the answers, provide strategy and direction while helping to meet the needs of those that they serve. Unfortunately, during this pandemic, many faith leaders are unsure of how to effectively lead during a global crisis while managing their own feelings of anxiety and uncertainty, and also just balancing the impact of the crisis on them personally and to their congregants. So we hope that you will listen, lean in, learn some new strategies, get some good information so that you can not only use in your personal life, but also use to serve in a greater way for the people that you lead and also the communities that you serve as well. I'm going to pass it over to the other co-founder of Keys of Hope Consultants, Ms. Lauren Capel.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren Capel, and I am so excited and honored to introduce our presenter for this evening. This lady is so powerful. I have gleaned from her wisdom. And so I want to introduce Ms. Placida Elena Braswell, also known as Dr. P. She has over 20 years of experience in leadership in both ministry and the marketplace. Placida is the founder and chief elevating officer of Women Elevated Incorporated, an organization to celebrate, empower, and equip women towards their purpose. As an ordained pastor, Placida has been recognized for her dynamic ability to inspire and motivate people to move beyond their pain to live out a life of purpose. Placida is a co-host of Maintain Monday, Elevation Rewind, and the Elevate Your Life Tour, which are only a few of the initiatives of the global Christian media conglomerate, Elevation Global Media Group. Placida helped to found this organization that is recognized by many leaders in kingdom ministry as the voice of truth. Dr. P is also a published author, Dear Daughter, in 2017, and her upcoming release, My Son, in 2020, highlight her commitment to family as her first ministry. She currently serves her community daily through her role as a regional program director for Win Family Health, a faith-based mental health and human service organization headquartered in Baltimore, Maryland. Their mission is committed to changing lives and strengthening families. Placida obtained her Master's of Arts, Human Services with a focus on marriage and family from Liberty University. Placida and her husband, Eric, live in Maryland along with their 8 children and their 1 grandchild. So without further ado, I want to introduce this powerful woman of God, Ms. Placida Braswell, as she takes us through how to lead successfully during challenging times. Welcome, Placida.
Wow. Thank you so much for that powerful introduction. I'm gonna tell you what, my heart started beating fast when I was listening to what you were saying. I was like, I got a lot to kind of live up to right now, but I feel like I'm on with family. I want us to be comfortable tonight. I want us to have a conversation that really is going to not just impact those who are on this Zoom, which we have come to learn in this season, how to meet, how to continue to connect virtually, but who we have gathered here today, we impact generations. We impact globally. I know for a fact that what is being shared tonight, if we ingest it, digest it, we will be able to do something different, right? We are lifelong learners. So again, meet Placida, right? I thought that it would be a good idea to show you some of the leadership roles that I have. A lot of times we put a lot of emphasis on roles that other folks have, but I'm a wife. I have to lead as a wife. I'm a mother of 8. I have 5 sons and 3 daughters. I'm a friend. I didn't realize it. I mean, you always know that you have an impact as a friend, as a leader. But I remember when I was going to Liberty and I decided to go get my master's. At the time, I was pursuing professional counseling. And I told my friend about it, my childhood friend, and she said, well, duh, you've been counseling people your whole life. And it helped me to realize that we lead all the time, whether we realize it or not. Amen. So I'm a daughter, I'm a colleague, I'm a pastor, I'm a talk show host. Those are just some of the roles that I have accepted and I'm committed to. And I know that I'm not alone. You also have many people that look to you for leadership. And during this season, the leaders that I know have been stretched in ways they never would have imagined a year ago at this time. So I thought that in light of the season that we're in, we would start with a video. So we're gonna just take a couple minutes to watch this video together.
What do you do when your battle chooses you? What do you do when something shows up on your doorstep that you did not directly cause, choose, or definitely anticipate?
Life is not always easy. In fact, some of you today, you're here and you're going through the toughest season of your life. There will be seasons where we will suffer. There will be seasons of real pain. And the question is, how will you respond in those moments?
Life is hard sometimes. Easy, it's not an option. But it's worth fighting. It's worth believing. It's worth giving yourself a chance. It's worth mustering yourself up, standing up inside yourself. It's worth fighting relentlessly, never giving up, is worth it. You can do it. You can do it.
There's problems that we go through that cause stress, worry, anxiety, and fear, but you might be in the battle of your life. I want to encourage you. It's not about what's happening around you. It's always about what's happening inside of you.
Just because you feel afraid doesn't mean you have to be afraid. Just because you feel discouraged doesn't mean you have to be discouraged. Just because you have fear doesn't mean fear has to have you.
The sentence out of your mouth is a story that you are putting out. I'm not gonna make it. I quit. Let's get a divorce. Business is never coming back. We've lost too many people. I've made too many mistakes. I'm a failure. Nobody can help me. I've done too many bad things. I don't know what's coming out of your mouth, but it's a death sentence. And as you continue to confess it and as you continue to declare it, well, don't be surprised when it becomes true in your life. We have to make sure that whenever I think a death sentence, I must speak a life sentence. Oh, I'm feeling the sentence of death. I'm feeling the thoughts of anxiety. I'm feeling the thoughts that I'm done. I feel like I've been used and it hurts and it's difficult, but when that happens, I start speaking out a life sentence. No, I'm just gonna keep showing up. No, I'm gonna get back up. The righteous man, he falls 7 times, but he gets back up.
Never give up, never give in, because skill can't get you past certain things. Quickness, agility can't get you. You gotta have mental toughness. Pain ain't permanent. Your pain ain't permanent. You can get through this. You bigger than your pain. You better than that.
Come on, you need to remember, this is not the first time you cried. This is not the first time you were short of breath. This is not the first time you didn't see a way clear. This is not the first time you were hurt. This is not the first time your heart was broken. This is not the first time you didn't have enough money. This is not the first diagnosis that came up from behind.
Say, I'm gonna live to tell the story. This too shall pass. I will remain. I'm not gonna quit. Every one of my burdens, there's a blessing on the inside of it. If you don't quit, you will win, baby.
You gonna work through this. You gonna get up. You gonna get dressed. You gonna get out. And you gonna do what you've been called to do. You gonna be what you called to be. And you gonna prove that everybody that tried to break you, everybody that tried to stop you, everybody that tried to kill your dream, you gonna prove all of them wrong.
Just keep coming back. If you got nothing left to give, just show back up. Half of life, man, is just showing up.
And I'm telling you right now, don't give up. I'm telling you right now, don't give in. Get through it. And if you can get through it, if you can work through your pain, I'm guaranteeing you on the other side is a reward. Pain is not permanent. Pain is temporary.
That was some video. As leaders, we go there. I know you don't want to admit it. You don't want to have folks see the tears. Vulnerability is a thing we're going to talk about a lot tonight. Vulnerable leaders, the world needs more of them. The fear of vulnerability and all that comes with taking off the armor, the fear of being judged or misunderstood, of making a mistake, being wrong and experiencing shame is universal. Yes, we are leaders, but people everywhere are just people. Over the last 9 months, our world has been turned upside down, and just when we thought that perhaps some normalcy may return, someone turned on the spin cycle. From COVID-19 to racial unrest and injustice to a presidential election like none that I've ever seen. The outcome of which is more death and sickness. Bishop talked about that a little bit in the beginning than I certainly have ever witnessed. There's divided churches, divided households, a divided nation. threats of a race war, political mayhem, financial distress, and you, leader, have been called to lead for such a time as this. So what are we talking about tonight? We're going to examine many of your leadership roles, your many leadership roles. We're going to discuss the specific types of leadership that support leading others during difficult times. Discuss how vulnerability relates to leadership. Review tips for leading during tough times. And ultimately, what we want to see is that you leave empowered. So I saw that the chat was lighting up. I want to encourage you guys to use the chat. Lauren and Tiara will be my co-hosts for the evening and be checking in the chat. And we're going to have some time when we actually converse and we share and you come off of mute and you are able, people can hear your voice, because I'm not the only one on this virtual meeting that has something to say tonight. I believe God has brought us together for us to talk, for leaders to get together and to talk. So yes, beside the goal of being a great leader, don't forget the reality and the responsibility of just being you. Today, I want to give you permission, once again, to be authentic, to accept that you're not perfect, to assert that you do not have all the answers, nor should you have ever been expected to. I want you to be vulnerable. I want you to provide space for others to be vulnerable. You know, as I was looking at scripture, preparing for my talk this evening, I came across this very familiar scripture. This, the fruit of the Spirit, against such things, there is no law. These are the things that we as leaders need to embrace, especially in this time. So right now, it's an interactive moment and we'll have a few throughout the evening. Please use the chat to list your leadership roles. List the leadership roles you play every day in life. If you want a clue, I can go back to my first slide, but there's lots of leadership roles. Which of these roles has proven to be the most difficult to endure during these difficult times? So I'm hoping to see that chat light up again. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to go ahead and list some things. Yes, mother, wife, friend, senior director, entrepreneur, business owner. Yes, Lauren. Managing relationships as folks struggle through, definitely. Mother, therapist, church leader, business owner, friend, absolutely. Husband, father, pastor, CEO, mom, friend. I want to know, is there anyone open to sharing about a leadership challenge that they have experienced during this season? Anyone? And what did you learn? Bishop, you know I'm gonna call on you if nobody else.
I was getting ready to push it on my own. I've been challenged with, I'm the type of person, I want to see everybody happy. I'm relational at you probably remember that about me.
Yes.
Relationships mean much to me. And because of the restrictions and restraints of COVID, that aspect of relational interaction, it's been somewhat difficult to maintain or to foster engagement opportunities for those I serve. It's been a little more effort involved. And while I don't mind the effort, it challenges me when the effort is not, trying to be nice, when the effort is not responded to. I think that's the best way I can say it. I have been very challenged by that in this season, because I know people need not just this resource, but I know people need many of the things that we've been able to put forward. And people just make excuses or talk about, you know, they're okay. When I'm looking at you and I know you're not okay. You know, I'm seeing you. I'm seeing the fruit of your life, and I know you're not okay. I know you're not, but I can't make you. You know that old adage: you can lead horses to the water, but you can't make them drink. Right. I've lived that in this pandemic, and it has deeply bothered me. I'm not going to lie; it's really bothered me. But I maintain, I keep it moving. Mm-hmm. But I found myself thinking about it more than I should because I'm a relational kind of person.
Exactly.
So that's been a challenge to me.
I join you in that sentiment because there's so many folks that have had the ability to tap into resources that are available and to make them available to others, and they don't show up. And it's like, come on, like this is good stuff.
Well, that's what bothers me. That's what bothers me because people know, and I'm not patting myself on the back. Mm-hmm. People know when I put something out there, it's usually quality. And you know, I don't put scrubs, and I'm just trying to be nice about it. Hurry up and say what I have to say. I don't put scrubs before people. I don't. Right. You know, I try not to be a scrub, and I definitely don't endorse scrubs. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to be nice, but scrubs to me is an acronym for so caught relentlessly under burdens and bad situations.
All right, now I'm gonna have to get that one. Put that in the chat.
I don't put a lot of people with a bunch of drama in front of you. So that's why it's been a challenge for me.
And I'm sure you are not alone. We all, you know, thank you guys for interacting. I appreciate that. And thank you, Bishop, for sharing. I'm pretty sure it is important for folks like yourself, for people to hear your heart, because sometimes they think it don't even matter. He not gonna worry. He's not thinking about me and the fact that I didn't show up. He don't need to know that he's appreciated. Guess what? Leaders need appreciation. And we're not doing this stuff because it's easy. Amen. We make it look easy. Amen. But it ain't easy. We're not doing this because we couldn't be doing something else. That's why it's so important to go back to those many roles. Bishop, father, CEO, entrepreneur, bishop, like all that means. Like, and I'm doing this other thing that I don't have to do. But I'm doing it because I love you. Where you at? So with that, I'm going to just go on and say this. Did somebody else have a comment?
Yes, this Tiara, I was going to share a couple of comments too before you moved on from the chat box that I thought kind of seems like a couple of people were kind of saying this. We had a couple of people who shared that managing relationships as folks struggle through what they may be struggling through has been difficult for them in their particular roles. And then also we had a comment taking time for myself during like their own mental healing. And they kind of shared that I'm not good to others if I'm not my best mentally.
Yes.
So again, I think regardless of whatever role or roles that you have, just still trying to find that balance of how do I care for myself and still try to pour into others seems to be some of the themes that I'm seeing with the comments.
That's a common theme. That's great. And, you know, we all have many leadership roles and we still, you know, that's some of what we're going to talk about is caring for ourselves. That's a big deal because those letdowns and those disappointments, they take little chips at you. If you got to get replenished, you know, a lot of times we act like, oh, that didn't hurt. And it's because we have become apathetic. We have turned our feelings, we turned the dial on our feelings down so that we won't feel the disappointment. And so we have to acknowledge those things in order to adjust our frequency, right? So inherent in leadership, there's going to be trials, there's going to be tests, there's going to be adversity. And there are many expectations of leaders. At times, those expectations will be unrealistic. I'm preaching to the choir. The leader who is prepared, however, to handle adversity is the leader who will demonstrate resilience. It is not how you start a race that makes you a winner, but how you finish it. I have seen many people have good beginnings, but few have good endings. Why are you a leader? People trust you because you are trustworthy. You are anointed. You are called. You said you could do it and you did it. You are a man or a woman of your word. You are appointed. Who else will do it if you don't, Lauren? We have a crisis. Only Bishop will know what to do. He always knows what to do. In many cases, we have been made into little g gods. And we have bought the lie. We have begun to expect things from ourselves that God never expected from us, apart from him and his strength. Or perhaps we don't know where we end and where he begins anymore. Did God say to do it? I can't tell anymore. I'm on autopilot, saving the day for everyone. Or maybe we just don't know how to say no. Or maybe we are just tired and need rest. And we don't even want to risk saying so because, God forbid, we look frail or weak. One thing is for sure, regardless of how we showed up here tonight, there are people all over the world, and I said this before, that are waiting for us to lead them. So let's talk about leadership. What you see on the screen is a picture of a heart and a brain. The type of leadership we will discuss today involves balancing your goal of effective leadership between your heart and your brain. Not one or the other. Not one or the other. The first type of leadership we're going to discuss is spiritual leadership, in a different kind of way than we typically think about it. Organizational spiritual leadership focuses on group relations between leader-follower, follower-leader, and peer-to-peer as being dynamic, and Bishop said this before, and reciprocal over time. It is well known that leaders through role modeling, behaviors, and other means can alter the self-concepts, attitudes, goals, and beliefs of their followers. A spiritual leader is someone who incorporates, this is the kind of spiritual leadership I'm talking about, someone who incorporates their beliefs into all matters of life. You do not set your beliefs on the shelf when you go into the office. When our beliefs about the world inform our work, we lead more wholesome lives, authentic lives that are truly more successful than those who do not integrate their beliefs with the rest of their life. There is an emerging call for leaders to live their lives and lead their organizations in ways that, in addition to providing for the organization's economic success, account for their impact on the employees, the earth, society, and the health of local and global economies. Thus, the very definition of leadership is extended to those who seek, regardless of role or position, to build the kind of world that we actually want to leave to our children and grandchildren to inherit. For the workplace, this means that everyone has the right to pursue a sense of purpose and meaning within a loving community with leaders committed to a sustainable world that ensures not just continued survival, but the flourishing of future generations. This is perhaps the greatest challenge of leaders, facing leaders today, is to develop a bottom line business model. And triple bottom line that you see on the screen really is referring to balanced focus on economic profits, employee well-being, and social and ecological sustainability. You can do all of those things and still lead and be true to yourself. So by spiritual leadership, what I do not mean is that we need to fire all the CEOs and go out and hire pastors to lead the companies. I'm imploring us as leaders to be those who are willing to step forward in organizations, in churches, anywhere that we lead, and be the kind of leader who is not just concerned with the economic profits, but is willing to step forth from an authentic place of service, and tend also to the well-being of the people they lead and the communities that they have been given authority. So the next kind of leadership we're going to talk about is emotionally intelligent leadership. By now, most likely we have all heard of emotional intelligence. Put simply, emotional intelligence is the capacity to recognize our own feelings and those of others, and to manage emotions effectively in ourselves and our relationships. This is a lot of what we were hearing kind of earlier, managing relationships and managing self. That's at the heart of emotional and social intelligence competencies. So there are 4 domains in emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. So self-awareness is simply a conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. Emotional self-awareness is the ability to understand our own emotions and their effects on our performance. I love this quote at the bottom of the page that says, "It is in the darkness of their eyes that men get lost." What are we talking about? Self-deception. The book Leadership and Self-Deception says this: self-deception is the problem of not knowing and resisting the possibility that one has a problem. Of all the problems in organizations, self-deception is the most common and the most damaging. I remember sitting under a leader who was very gifted, highly gifted. She was gifted at looking at facts and figures and analyzing and creating programs and structures, but she was not a people person. And as a result, she thought everybody else was the problem. She was deceiving herself. Many people left the organization until eventually the leadership realized that while this person is gifted in this area, they are not gifted in this area. And while we can grow, we all have the potential to grow. Sometimes we're just misplaced in an organization. Sometimes we are operating in self-deception. Another thing that's important here is modeling appropriate responses. This is still a part of self-awareness. Leaders must understand that they will experience fear. That is not the barrier. The true underlying obstacle to brave leadership is how we respond to fear. It gets scary as a leader. We don't have all the answers, and sometimes we come up against situations where we're not comfortable with even making the decision. We have to be honest with this. This will determine the effectiveness of your leadership. Another part of modeling appropriate responses is letting your language lead you. They talked about that in the video a little bit. Be intentional with your speech because it will create your reality. Your speech serves as an affirmation, as a declaration, as a decree regarding your situations and your circumstances. The last thing here is really understanding that calm is a superpower. It is a balm that heals one of the most prevalent workplace stressors, which is anxiety. I'm not a therapist, but we have Tiara, we have Lauren, we have, I'm sure, many other therapists on the line tonight that can tell you what has happened with anxiety and depression and suicide levels in this current environment. Those of us who are in a leadership position, we create a perspective and mindfulness while managing emotional reactivity when we demonstrate calm. Tara and Lauren, can you talk a little bit about what has happened with mental health during this time? Any one of you?
Absolutely. So we've seen an increase in mental health challenges during this time. I mean, people are really having a hard time coping with what's going on. And just being around so much grief and loss, seeing so many people struggling, just the uncertainty of everything that's happening, whether they're going to lose their jobs, whether they'll get income to, support their family. And we're just seeing people just having hope. Losing hope.
Right.
What's going on right now. So definitely a lot of people are really struggling.
And then also just some issues or concerns or challenges that may have been prior to the pandemic has also been exacerbated with the pandemic. And then also you find that even just people, just things are different. The distractions that we typically had to fill voids, or the distractions that we typically had to lean on for coping mechanisms, again, because of safety and just other things are no longer there, not being able to connect with others, is really having a huge impact on people's mental health and their wellness, and just how they would typically or maybe generally be able to deal with challenging times. And so, yeah, there is a huge increase. And we see this across the board, from the smallest of children to, our oldest of adults. Across the board, people are really just having a difficult time, and it has increased significantly.
Absolutely. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. On the left side of the screen, you see this image of shalom, which means peace. I thought it was important. This is kind of like a buy one, get one free that I just stuck in here, because I wanted to, in the Hebrew, the language is in pictures, right? And so, and it reads from left to right. The scripture, Matthew 5:9, says, "The peacemakers are blessed, for they will be called the sons of God." What this word shalom means literally, what that is teeth, and it's shin, and it means to destroy. The thing next to it is a shepherd's staff, and it is lamed, and it means authority. The next to it is vav, or a nail or a hook, and it means attached. And then there is the image of water, which is mem, which means chaos. So literally, the word shalom means to destroy the authority attached to chaos. So God has given us, his sons, his daughters, a responsibility to create something, and that something is peace. We've defined what the word means, to destroy the authority attached to chaos. The definition of shalom literally means completeness, soundness, welfare, safety, health, prosperity, peace as in quiet and tranquility and calm and contentment, peace in friendships, peace in relationships. This word is very pregnant with meaning. It's rich in meaning. And today, just look at you as a leader, put in a position of authority to destroy the authority attached to chaos. What does that mean in our context? You have been given the right to destroy the authority that is attached to racial unrest, chaos, disease, chaos, division, chaos. How do we destroy that? Well, of course, we can pray about it, and that's what we tend to do, but we can also use our words and our decrees over situations and circumstances, our affirmations, as well as our actions and attitudes that have the motivation of his peace. Because you are a leader, people are looking at you, so be careful that you don't let your actions contradict your words. So we move on to self-management. And self-management is management of or by oneself, the taking of responsibility for one's own behavior or well-being. And under self-management, we have 4 different areas: emotional self-control, the ability to keep disruptive emotions and impulses in check and maintain our effectiveness under stressful or hostile conditions; achievement orientation, striving to meet or exceed a standard of excellence, looking for ways to do things better; set challenging goals, and take calculated risks; positive outlook, the ability to see the positive in people, situations, and events; and persistence, in pursuing goals despite obstacles or setbacks. And lastly, adaptability, flexibility in handling change, juggling multiple demands, and adapting our ideas or approaches. So I want to ask you, how skilled are you at managing your emotions? We're talking about leadership success during difficult times. Do you breathe before you respond? Literally, oftentimes we feel rushed to have a response. A lot of times we're in performance mode, and we really need to be responding rather than reacting. Another thing about that is consulting wise counsel in difficult situations that exceed your ability to respond well. So if we're self-aware, we know, this one took me over the edge. Like, they're about to meet the unreformed Placida. This is the unprofessional Placida that's just about to come out. Am I alone in that? Aren't there things that have happened to you that have been so offensive that you know that you're not operating as your best self? Take the time to consult wise counsel in difficult situations. Don't have the pressure to perform. Beware of frustration in difficult times. It is hard to follow a frustrated leader. Has anybody ever had that experience? Frustration comes through in the way we respond to questions and how we interact with people. My husband's on here. I know he can say amen that sometimes when I'm frustrated, you're not fun to be around. Frustration can affect every aspect of life. It must be dealt with quickly and efficiently. Otherwise, the problem becomes even more difficult. What's more difficult than being a frustrated leader? Leading a group of frustrated followers. Leaders deal with frustration by talking with someone they trust. Invite someone into your process, someone who is safe and someone who is honest and someone who is wise. We say in the church, godly counsel, right? Invite someone into your process to get the help you need when you're enduring a difficult season. Positive outlook. There is power in perspective. Your belief system impacts your feelings. Your feelings impact how you think about things, and your thoughts ultimately impact how you act and respond. I want to take a breath. In this virtual environment, I think it's important to make sure that are there any questions or anything we want to explore? I'm going to go right into social awareness. Unless you jump in, Tiara and Lauren, I just invite you to go ahead and jump in whenever I take a breath, if you need to.
I just think it was a lot of agreement in the chat about what you were saying. Yep, just responding, making sure that you are responding instead of reacting as a leader. Somebody said this is Trump, so we can even see just like the leader of the world, but the US right now. I mean, we're just looking at what that looks like when leadership does not exhibit good
judgment.
Good judgment. And we're just saying it's counterproductive to the goal when leaders are reacting out of their feelings and are frustrated. It makes people lose focus about what they're supposed to be working to accomplish.
And then what you were talking about, and you reiterated a couple of times actually, about just seeking wise counsel. And I think sometime in leadership roles, regardless of what that looks like, whether you're the leader of your household, the leader of a church, the leader of an organization, sometimes we just feel like we are the go-to, but who do you go to? And so really making sure that You understand that you don't have to carry the burden on your own. You definitely have people, and should surround yourself with people who you can connect with, and who, again, can, give you some instruction, or give you some encouragement, or
That's
give you
right.
even some direction. And again, sometimes, there's a lot of pressure when we say leader, but leaders need help too. Leaders need to be poured back into as well.
That's
And
right.
so I just like how you kind of reiterated that maybe a few times throughout that last slide, to seek wise counsel. That's what it's there for.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies. So social awareness is the next domain. And this involves empathy and organizational awareness. Social awareness is the ability to take the perspective of and empathize with others, including those with diverse backgrounds, the ability to understand social and ethical norms for behavior, right? So empathy, the ability to sense others' feelings and perspectives, and to take an active interest in their concerns and pick up cues about what they feel or think. Whereas organizational awareness is the ability to read a group's emotional currents and power relationships, to identify the influencers, the networks, and organizational dynamics. This is key for many reasons. First of all, I said this in the beginning, we have to have empathy and not apathy. Have you checked in on those you lead? We must care for and stay connected to the people that we lead. And ask yourself this question. I really want you to ask yourself, is it really okay for them to not be okay? I know it doesn't fit your timeline. I know it wasn't on the agenda or the to-do list for today, but Sally's not okay. That needs to be okay, because people right now across this world are not okay. And we as the leader have to model that. The welfare of those we lead is our concern. Are there support systems in place and resources available for your team's diverse needs? As we're walking through this, I want you guys to be asking yourselves these questions. Having empathy requires embracing your own frailty. Connect with your own humanity so that you can connect with the humanity of those you lead. If you're a machine, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm talking to myself, because many people, if you're in my circle, you know that many people ask me, oh, how do you do all of that? And so because that's my reality, sometimes that's how I treat other people. Am I by myself? Well, if I could do 100 things today, why you can't do 100 things? But I'm not necessarily tapping into who they are, or understanding their makeup, or who said I should be doing 100 things? Why is it that my way is the right way? Oftentimes, apathetic leaders have a lack of emotion, feeling, or interest, or lack of involvement. Or they just have a non-caring attitude. You know what I call that? When I get into my production mode, I don't know if anybody else has a production mode that they get into. When I'm just getting things done. Yeah, I dial back my feelings when I'm in production mode. And I actually make an excuse for it in my mind. It makes sense because I'm getting things done. Just help me get it done. We have a responsibility to still be leaders who empathize, leaders who check on our people. We must be the guardians, the protectors. I listed this out because I think it's important. Protectors, the custodians, the caretakers of a space where those who we lead can explore their gifts. They can remain curious students and be who they authentically are without fear of persecution or suffocation. This makes me think of James 1, I believe it's 1:8 or 1:5, I'm sorry. But if any man needs wisdom, go to God, who is faithful to give it without reproach. When those who follow you come to you for wisdom, do you treat them as though, oh, you should have known that already? Do you judge them for still being a student, or for being in a learning posture instead of in the expert posture? Sometimes we do that. Sometimes we look down on others who, and because of that, we contribute to us to the space not being safe. So the next thing I wanted to say is, I want you to look at, are you available to your team? Are you accessible, approachable, and active? Are you truly available? Sure, they have your email address, but how do you answer it and when do you answer it? Yeah, they have your number, but do you respond to their text messages? When they come to talk to you, are you present with them, or are you thinking about other things? Are you active in their life? Do you know who their wife or their husband is? How about their children? Like, do you take an opportunity to truly be active in the lives of those that you lead? And lastly, there is power in partnership. Partner with your team and other leaders to fulfill the vision. We could all be beautiful and gifted and together. You know, this leader isn't trying to harm you because they have something quality to contribute. It's okay. Allow them to help you fulfill the vision. Recognize diversity as a gift and commit to exploring and utilizing it in various ways. People deserve a place where their hearts can rumble with vulnerability and their hearts can exhale. I really hope you guys are getting something from this. This last domain is relationship management. So, relationship management. There are 5 areas here. Influence, the ability to have a positive impact on others, persuading or convincing others in order to gain their support, coach or mentor, the ability to foster the long-term learning or development of others by giving feedback, guidance, and support. Be available to be a coach or a mentor and to pour into others as someone poured into you. Conflict management, the ability to help others through emotional or tense situations, tactfully bringing disagreements into the open and finding solutions that all can endorse. This one is key. Talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Inspirational leadership, the ability to inspire and guide individuals and groups towards a meaningful vision of excellence and to bring out the best in others. In teamwork, the ability to work with others towards a shared goal, participating actively, sharing responsibility and rewards, sharing responsibility and rewards, and contributing to the capability of the team. So I want to say a couple things about relationship management. This first one, have courageous conversations. Have courageous conversations. We all want to be courageous leaders. So often we think of courage as an inherent trait. It isn't. Who people are and how they show up, how they behave and show up in difficult situations will highly impact those they lead. Courage is contagious. To scale daring leadership and build courage in teams and organizations, we have to cultivate a culture in which brave work, tough conversations, and whole hearts are the expectation. That takes skill. That takes skill. And it also takes psychological safety. Simply put, psychological safety makes it possible to give tough feedback and have difficult conversations without the need to tiptoe around the truth. In psychologically safe environments, people believe that if they make a mistake, others will not penalize them or think less of them for it. They also believe that others will not resent or humiliate them when they ask for help or information. This belief comes about when both people trust and respect each other, and it produces a sense of confidence that the group won't embarrass, reject, or punish someone for speaking up. Giving feedback. Allowing others to exist in dysfunctional patterns that are barriers to their growth and deter effectiveness and viability is not loving to them or their communities. Feedback is a gift that you will give as a leader repeatedly. It can often be met with resistance and rejection, but there is an art, and it's on the screen. There is an art to giving feedback, to delivering feedback in a way that is more likely to be received, reflected upon, and can ultimately be transformative to the hearer. The more authentic you show up as a leader, the more willing those that follow you will be to accept your loving feedback. Can I get somebody to read that scripture that's on the screen?
But speaking the truth in love, in all things, both our speech and our lives expressing his truth. Let us grow up in all things into him, following his example, who is the head, Christ. Ephesians 4:15, Amplified Version.
We must give feedback. We often lean out. We lean away from feedback. We lean away from giving it because we're worried about acceptance. We're worried, what will they think? But we see them struggling. If we have been called to lead them, it's our responsibility to get uncomfortable and lean in and speak the truth in love. You cannot get to courage without rumbling with vulnerability. Embrace the suck. Sorry if that offends someone. So there is power in perseverance. When people realize that you have staying power, you're going to go through some stuff. People not going to like you. They're going to say stuff about you. And you're going to have fallen outs with people that, well, you said something hard and now they don't speak to you in the same way. But you know what? Pain is temporary. It doesn't last forever. And on the other side of that, relationships grow when people have endured trials together. So if we want people to fully show up, to bring their whole selves, including their unarmored whole hearts, so that we can innovate, solve problems, and serve people, we have to be vigilant about creating a culture in which people feel safe, seen, heard, and respected. So this is just an image that I thought was really helpful to look at the core emotional intelligence competencies, and they kind of show the unproductive states and the productive states, and what that looks like. And so I just wanted to take a moment to pause here for any questions or comments. And if you don't have any, I have one for you.
So we do have a few comments in the chat. One of the last ones is that feedback is important as a leader to help others achieve their goals. It can demonstrate that you care. Another comment is that when we are poor in empathy, we are rich in criticism, which I think that is a very
so good,
powerful statement. And when you manage your emotions, you are taking responsibility for your emotions only and not making someone else responsible for your emotions. So we have to learn as leaders that we have to take accountability for us and not look to place blame for other people for how we feel. Like your feelings are yours, and nobody can make you feel a certain type of way. Is it.
That's so good. Nobody can make you feel. Don't we say that all the time? She made me feel. He made me feel. You felt? Own your feelings because they're yours. That's so good. Thank you for all of that. So I wanted to ask this question. We were discussing emotionally intelligent leadership, and we learned about those 4 domains, right? Self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. As we all consider our experience in leadership, where we are right now, which area of emotional intelligence do you feel is most needed? Or are you determined to improve upon in your leadership? Because guess what? If we expect the people we lead to be vulnerable, we gotta go first. As the leader, you get to go first. You get to go first. So none of us have arrived unless, if somebody has, could you please raise your hand if you have arrived to you know, if you finish with this race, because I think you would be in heaven if that was the case. But we all have room to grow. So can someone share? If there's an area that they know that they need, as they were hearing us walk through those different areas.
I just, I put in the chat that just what's needed in general is authenticity. I think that it's easy to kind of put on a mask, especially with everything that's going on. I think in addition to the vulnerability that you talked about, that leaders really should be authentic about, not that you tell all your business, but the fact that you are a human first, and that you can connect.
Absolutely. You are taking us right to the next place. Thank you for that, Lauren. Right after I wanted to show you that emotional intelligence or emotionally intelligent leaders, the outcomes are what you see on the screen: increased leadership ability, increased team performance, improved decision making, decreased occupational stress, personal well-being, reduced turnover. This is what the outcome is for folks who actually embrace these domains and do the work that is required. Sometimes we're in position and we haven't done the work. We've been given grace, we've been given elevation or promotion, and there's still some things that we need to acknowledge in ourselves as we become more self-aware, like, wow, I'm easily offended. What is that? I might need to do some work in that area, right? Do the work, because it's going to benefit not only yourself, but everyone that you lead. So Lauren began to have this conversation. She talked about authenticity. The definition of vulnerability that we see here on the screen is uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. But vulnerability is not weakness. It is our most accurate measure of courage. When you think of vulnerability, what do you think of? And Lauren said, it's not telling all your business. That is so correct. So what we have here next is the 6 myths of vulnerability. A lot of folks think vulnerability is weakness. Vulnerability is actually strength and power when it's fully understood. I don't do vulnerability. Well, you can either do vulnerability or it will do you. There's no opting out when it comes to effective leadership. I can go it alone. We are hardwired to need connection. We all need support and community. You can remove uncertainty and discomfort from vulnerability. Sorry, people are not math equations. We're not talking about systemic vulnerability. We're talking about relational vulnerability. Trust comes before vulnerable. I'm not gonna get vulnerable until there's trust in the relationship. Sorry, trust is the stacking and layering of small amounts and reciprocal vulnerability over time. Trust and vulnerability grow together, and to betray one is to destroy both. Vulnerability is disclosure. So with this, I'm going to take a moment to actually read an excerpt from this book. I always get my directions messed up on Zoom. This book is called Dare to Lead, and I've stolen a lot from it throughout this presentation. So if there's things in this that you're appreciating, a lot of it has come from, but I have a resource list at the end, and I'm happy to give anyone resources. But this myth that vulnerability is disclosure, I wanted to read this short blurb because it says, let's dispel that myth right off the bat with 2 seemingly conflicting statements. 1, I am not a proponent of oversharing, indiscriminate disclosure as a leadership tool, or vulnerability for the sake of vulnerability's sake, for vulnerability's sake. And 2, there is no daring leadership without vulnerability. Both of these statements are true. I know there's a problem when people ask me, how much should leaders share with their colleagues or employees? Some of the most daring leaders I know have incredible vulnerability, rumbling skills, and yet disclose very little. I've also worked with leaders who share way more than they should and demonstrate little to no rumbling skills. During a time of difficult change and uncertainty, daring leaders might sit with their teams and say, these changes are coming in hard and fast. And I know there's a lot of anxiety. I'm feeling it too. And it's hard to work through. It's hard not to take it home. It's hard not to worry. And it's easy to want to look for someone to blame. I will share everything I can about the changes with you as soon as I can. I want to spend the next few minutes talking about how we're managing all the changes. Specifically, what does support look like from me? What questions can I try to answer? Are there any stories you want to check out with me? Are there any other questions you might have? I'm asking everyone to stay connected and lean into each other during this churn so we can really rumble with what's going on. In the midst of all of this, we still need to produce work that makes us all proud. Let's each write one thing down from this group in order to feel okay with sharing and asking questions, and one thing that will get in the way. I wanted to read that because that's a great example of being a vulnerable leader. I didn't tell you about my fight with my husband or, some other thing that you think, oh, I can't get vulnerable with my staff, but I let my staff or the people that I lead know, wow, I'm worried about this too. This is big. It's no small thing. But rather than have a stone face and act like I don't feel. So vulnerability is not unnecessary disclosure. And I hope that made that clear. Vulnerability, what is it? Vulnerability says it's okay to seek help. It's okay to say no. It's okay to delegate. You don't have to do everything. It's even okay to fail. It's hard to remember that the brokenhearted are the bravest among us. I wanted to tell you a quick story about something that happened to me just recently. During the pandemic, in fact, it was Mother's Day, and my son, who has epilepsy, who's also a cancer survivor, had a seizure. And that he has epilepsy, but he had been seizure-free for over a year. So it was a big deal. But it wasn't a big deal just because he had one seizure. He began to have seizures almost daily. We didn't know what was going on. And it was COVID-19. So every time that ambulance came and took him away in that state, he was in the hospital and I couldn't be with him. And this happened at least 11 times. And it was scary because the seizures were not 15 minutes, they were an hour and a half. They were 45 minutes, they were long. I called the ambulance and he was still seizing when the ambulance came. And then all I can tell you is that it was a very scary time for our family. And all of those leadership roles that I have, they were still going on. And in fact, they were in super speed. There was, I'm a program director, so policies and programs were changing, and there were more. I feel like there's been more meetings ever than there ever has been before while we've been in this pandemic. I'm a pastor, so people are sick and passing away, and they're calling me to comfort them, and I got my own stuff going on, right? I still got to get on the radio or on the podcast whenever, everything. I'm still a mother of 8, I'm still a wife, all of this. And I thought this last time, this 11th time, this time they let me in the emergency room. And this time it was more like a mental break. My son was tired. He didn't know what was happening to him, and they had given him 3 new medications during this time just because he couldn't see his neurologist, and they just were treating him via telehealth. Well, try this medication, add this one, add that, and they were all hardcore medications. So his mental health, I didn't even know what was going on with my son. But anyway, I was in that emergency room this last time, and the Holy Spirit said to me, you need to take a leave of absence. And as fast as I got that message through, I sent a text message to my supervisor. So my text message read, I think I may need to take a leave of absence. I have to get my son's health under control. Her response to me, my love, our babies are so important and everything to us. Nothing else matters when it comes to our babies. I'm standing with you. You are not alone, whatever you decide. That next morning, I just felt like I had to talk to my CEO. And he had a busy day. He had canceled a meeting that we had that day. So I knew he was busy, but I said, do you have time for a call? And I guess he just felt it. And he just said, call me at such and such time. So I called him. So the long story short was that they created a situation that was unheard of for me, really. And they allowed me whatever time I needed to deal with this situation that was dear to me because they valued me. The bottom line really is they showed up for me as spiritual leaders. They showed up for me as emotionally intelligent leaders. And because of that, it was okay for me to not be okay. Leaders, believe me, if you are not okay, someone has noticed and may be paying the price of you not wanting to yield to what is real for you. Reach out to your community, put your mask down. Not the mask that Bishop was talking about keeping on, right? The other mask, the one that you put on every day and you think nobody knows you have it on. Yeah, put that one down and be whatever is real for you in this moment. So I hope that is a tangible example to you of what it looks like to be an emotionally intelligent leader, to know when you have to be there for your people, and to be a spiritual leader, to realize that you can push people beyond their limits, but it's not going to work for everyone, right? It's ultimately at the end of the day. So so here's what we got, right? We got you in the middle. You're a good leader. Clear communication, great examples. You're modeling integrity, stimulating work, vision, focus on your team, support, clear goals, encouragement. That's ultimately our goal. Here's some tips for leading under pressure. And we're coming to the end of our time together. Be purpose-driven, set specific goals, clearly communicate the vision. Clarity prevents confusion. 2, have a plan. Provide short, manageable objectives for best results with execution of the plan. Keep things simple. 3, expect challenges. As much as is possible, provide backup plans and contingencies. 4, stay present with your team. Avoid fast forward, catastrophizing about the future, ruminating or regretting in the past, which is rewind. Practice mindfulness, paying attention to and living in the present moment intentionally in a non-judgmental way. Mindfulness strengthens your muscle of attention and increases your working memory capacity, helps you make better decisions, and decreases the amount of time you spend mind wandering, negative thoughts, judging yourself and setting unrealistic expectations of yourself and others. 5, remember your passion. Don't allow your fire to go out. Reignite your passion when necessary. 6, and we said this early, do not neglect self-care. Good health, hygiene, and mental wellness are required. for you to be a good leader. Self-awareness and self-love matter very much. Connect. Number 7, connect with your own humanity. You are a human being, not a human doing. You are a human being, not a human doing. Attend to what you really feel so you can embrace your authority to change what you believe connected to your raw emotions. Do not succumb to your emotions and your circumstances. Surmount them. Number 8, eliminate unnecessary pressures. I said this a lot of times as well. Set realistic expectations, balance and delegate workloads appropriately, maintain balanced emotions, and avoid offense. Number 9, be professional. Being unprofessional is easy. Maintaining professionalism, that takes skillfulness. You cannot expect people to respect your leadership when your professionalism is circumstantial. So too will be their respect for you. Maintain a healthy view of failure. Seeming failures are just disguised as opportunities for growth. Never forget your responsibility as a lifelong learner. Fail forward. As long as you have learned, you have grown. Leadership tip. I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That's Thomas Edison. You are powerful. You are resilient, and you are not alone. The end of a thing is better than its beginning. The patient spirit is better than the proud in spirit. I do want to take an opportunity to play this short video for you. I hope that you enjoy it, and then we'll be closing out our time together.
Even at a young age, and despite not knowing what scholars and researchers were already confirming, I was laying the foundation of resilience by using the most important resource available to me, my mind. I wish I could say that the bad luck truck stopped dropping boxes of trauma off at my doorstep when I was a kid, but life doesn't adhere to any delivery windows. Change comes whenever it comes, and for as long as we all live. After my childhood, I'd go on to experience the death of family and friends, job loss, financial issues, health crisis, all the things that life has a tendency to throw at us. To show you how much of a comedian God is, He gave me a breakup, heartbreak, and distraction to start this very week as I was preparing to talk to you about resilience. Like, really? Now? Now? So what does trauma teach us about resilience? Sometimes we need to tell ourselves what to think when our mind starts telling us things that we don't need to hear. That you can and will overcome and succeed. And not just in spite of, but precisely because of. That with the proper perspective and a positive attitude, we have power. That life is easier when you're prepared. And just because you can't plan for everything, doesn't mean you can't be ready for something. That perspective sometimes requires partnership and perseverance. And understand, sometimes it gets hard and it's tough. and it's painful. You get tired, you get weak. And when you don't know how to keep going, sometimes all the strength you need is the strength to ask others for help. That it's okay to acknowledge that I was a victim, but refuse to own being a victim. You get that subtle distinction, that difference between past and present tense? That gives us power. Power to change the way we think, power to change our circumstances, and ultimately power to overcome. Because of my faith, I've long been a believer that everything happens for a reason. Some reasons are immediately available to you, others take time to reveal themselves. As I was piecing together my talk, one of the central questions I kept coming back to was, who am I talking to? I ultimately realized that I was talking to the adolescent me, the college me, the professional me, even the future me with life adversity yet to be encountered. The varying versions of me is who I was telling, you are indeed unbreakable, that you can overcome anything. But if you happen to find a little something in your eavesdropping to help you through whatever adversity you face, then I was talking to the adolescent you, the college you, the corporate you, the professional you, the future you, too. And more than anything, I thank you for giving my trauma a purpose. Thank you.
So I'm going to skip that last slide. I don't know if I should, but this is just to let you know that even when you feel like no one gets it, you can take some time to read it this evening on your own. There's always someone standing with you, and he stands with you in many different ways. He's whatever you need him to be in this moment, during this pandemic, at this time. So I thank you so very much for being great listeners, great participants. And I wanted to open up for the last couple minutes, or the minute, for any last minute comments or feedback. And thank you guys for having me so very much.
Anyone have any comments? You can unmute yourself if you like, or if you feel more comfortable typing in the chat box. But did anyone want to share anything or had a question, or if something resonated with you, you can feel free to do that in these last moments.
Lassiter, you were phenomenal. And I had to step away for a brief moment, but I rushed back. And I just want to thank you for yielding yourself to be a blessing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Real good.
Thank you, sir. Truly appreciate that.
I mean it. And I'm being vulnerable right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
I just feel sorry for anybody who did not join this evening. It was a lot of gems being dropped, whether you are a CEO, a director, a pastor, or just leading your home. Matter of fact, leading yourself. I think this was phenomenal.
Thank you so much.
Like, this was a TED Talk.
It really was.
About to sign you up for TED Talks. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I truly appreciate the opportunity. And we're family, so we're in this together, right?
Absolutely. So we thank you, Placido, from the bottom of our hearts. We appreciate you. And we appreciate everyone who came. We appreciate those who couldn't make it, but in spirit may have wanted to. We always believe that everything happened for a reason, and the people that were meant to be here are here. And at some point, hopefully you'll be able to share this wonderful information and be able to not only change your life, but again, change others in the midst of doing so. So we again appreciate you, Bishop. We appreciate you and always being vulnerable and a great model and example of that. And maybe you didn't know that you were doing it, but we just got a word from Miss Placido that that's something that you're doing and it's totally appreciated. So again, join us next week, next Monday, same time. Tell friends, tell family to come join us. Our next topic will be, I want to make sure I say it right. Our next topic will be the impact of trauma and the power of resiliency. So Placido, your video was actually on point and a great segue into what our discussion will be next Monday.
Great.
Yes. We will have a wonderful presenter, Dr. Candace Aston, who will be joining us and presenting some great information as well. So again, enjoy your evening. Thank you for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you again next Monday.
Yep. So I hope that you all are leaving empowered. That was one of Placido's last goal, is to leave empowered. I'm definitely empowered. So I pray and hope that you all, as you're logging off, feel empowered.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, guys. Love you. God bless you. Stay safe. Take care. Good night.